Hello, hello. How is everyone doing? Just getting ourselves set up here. Sorry for the wiggling. Okay. Let's see. Did this work? And it did. See? Things work sometimes. Let's turn that volume down. Good morning, Vicky. Good morning, friends. How are you both doing? Today we're going to do something a little different. No, not too much. It's still with paper. It's always paper. But we are going to do paper beads. Paper beads. And I'm just going to show you a couple different ways that you can do it. Um, I'll, talk about alternatives that you can use, how you can create your own papers for your paper beads. Maybe you're not a pattern paper hoarder. I know, that sounds funny. But I'm gonna, just go through what I find is best and what I find is easiest. Because when I craft, I don't want to. I want to think, but I don't want to waste too much time. And I know I'm a die cutter. I know. I know. Good morning. Good morning, Damn it, Ant. How are you doing? Welcome back. So, paper beads. You need paper. Yep. That is what we need. And I already have um, some things already started. So, I've already got my paper strips. And we're going to do just a few different types. Let me get my drink out of the way. Good morning, Gwen. Um, I've got some paper strips ready. We're going to use glue. We're going to use straws. We're going to use all kinds of different things. I'm going to show you how you can make the what looks like a Pandora bead. Yep, we're going to do that as well. How we can embellish them because they're great. You can make your own charms. And I think these charms are great for your journals, your albums, bookmarks, jewelry, whatever you want to do. You just want to remember that with paper beads, now I seal mine up, they're not waterproof, they're water resistant. And there is a big difference. So even though they're water resistant, they will get damaged in water, especially, of course, if you submerge them or if they're constantly getting wet. Good morning, Jock. How are you doing? Did I say that right, Jock? Okay. And then I'm also going to show you that if you just have solid cardstock like this, and this is pretty thick. Oh, who knew? Okay. Um, how we can create our own designs on those and when I like to do that. So I am going to be focusing on 12 by 12 papers. So I dug into my stash of those that were from a pattern collection and broken out, and how you can cut them. All right, so basically with a paper bead, you want an elongated triangle to start with, something that looks like this. All right, so you've got your paper, You're going to have your triangle. Now, I do use a paper bead roller because I find that's easiest. I do not do, well, you can use a skewer to roll your paper beads. I do not do well with that, but you can also use a cocktail straw, and I'll show you how we can use that. If, again, you don't have to buy a paper bead roller. Um, you can use straws. So I'll show you how we can do that as well. And I'll do okay with a straw, just not a skewer. And you'll see why as we go through that. I do use the skewers and the straws for when I'm sealing and then when I'm glazing them. So I do protect them in a two-step. Um, oh, good. I'm glad you are doing well, Jacques. Cordelia, how are we doing? I was wondering, Cordelia, if you were getting snow. I saw that in the thing. Yes, we are getting snow right now as well. We got some yesterday, and we're getting more today. So, of course, it started right when I left to do my grocery shopping this morning. Yep. So, again, you'll need your paper. Now, you can also use a ruler, or you'll need a ruler of some type. Any ruler will do. I do like to use this type of a ruler. It's a quilter's ruler, and I make sure that it's longer than 12 inches, and you'll see why. But you can also use a regular ruler. Let me grab one. Just like this. And I always make sure they have cork on the bottom so they don't slide around. But I don't do well with this method, but it can be done. You don't need a paper trimmer. You can use a pair of scissors. I use, this is specifically for paper. Again, it's a quilter's rotary cutter. And again, the blades are only used for paper. They do not go back and forth between fabric and paper. It will dull the blade when you do that. So when you use something for paper, it's for paper. When you use something for fabric, it's for fabric. At least that's what I do. All right. So paper bead rollers, they come in different sizes. Now, I've done this for many years, so yeah, it's a little bit of an obsession. So here's a set here with different sizes, different widths for your beads, down to very skinny widths. So that's great for our wires to go through, for our beads. And then they also go up into more, I mean, this is the Mahamba. That's a Mahamba paper bead roller. And then these two are more on the average as well. These can be found on Amazon. These I got off of Etsy from C5 Creations. I just find these are easier to use. They're quicker, and I don't get frustrated. And they also do come with a longer, we'll call this a spike. All right, so you can make your beads any size that you want. You don't have to stick with a smaller size. I know Tim Holtz way back in the day, and I mean way back in the day, he actually had a roller that came out as well. And I'm trying to find it here. Yes, I have it. Is this it? No, this is the pokey tool. But it looks like this, actually. I thought I had it right here. No, no. I'll give up in a minute once I can't find it. And we'll give up now. So it's just really short. It's not long at all. I like to have that length so that the paper can roll on it. What I like about these, so if I take this one, there's a notch in them, and we can take it and put that right in the notch, and we're going to start rolling. Let me get my glue. So for the paper beads themselves, putting them together, you put that in the notch, and then you just start rolling. You want to make sure it's tight around that. And since this is a triangle, we just keep rolling. And you want to make sure that it just stays in the center. And you just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. Now you can have your triangle come to a point. This one does not, which is fine. And then once you get to about an inch, we're going to add some glue. And I do add a little bit more because then as I'm rolling it and it comes out, I can then just keep turning it around the bead and get that glue started around that. Now I will seal these with glue as well. What's great with this is you don't have to worry about the pattern on your paper because it's going to create its own pattern. So you can see with this one, it created that different pattern, and then you just slide it off. You don't have to be as tight as I was, and then because we don't put glue throughout, you can then reshape the bead, and you've just created a paper bead. Okay. Thank you for coming, and I'm only kidding. So we're going to set that one aside. You can make paper beads in all shapes and sizes. So here, these are fun to do when you're just sitting in front of the TV, if you have a bunch of triangles cut, like I do. So here are some other ones that I have. These are big and chunky. These are layered with two different types of paper to make it thicker. So if you have thin papers, your beads will be more narrow. When you have thicker paper, they'll bulge out a little bit more. So when they're thin, I'm going to show how you can just double up on the paper to get your thickness. So you have those, and then this is about 1.5 inches. That's how wide the triangle was at the top. Same with these. And you can layer up as many pieces of paper as you want, as long as it goes in through this notch. All right. So you could be limited when it comes to that. These are what the Pandora beads look like, and then they're just cut in a certain way. So these are unsealed. These are just rolled and put together. Here you can make them this small. I try not to make beads this small anymore. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of like this size, and here's where more, and again, you get that nice chunky looking bead, but the thin ones look nice as well. So I'll be able to show you how I seal them. And then this is what they look like. And they're going all over the place. This is what they look like after they're sealed and glazed. So I do 3 coats on mine. And then they look shiny, glossy. They're sturdy. I don't know if you can hear that. But again, they're not waterproof. You just got to remember that. They are not. And these are done, and I'm going to show you how we can decorate because I don't know if they will be dry, the ones that I do. So we'll decorate these. We'll keep those out. Let me put these in a thing. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's see here. Just checking the comments. Cordelia's baking. Okay. We're going to put those in there as well. Okay. So that's what we can do. Now, if you want to use one of these cocktail straws, you can even use a drinking straw um, if you want that wide of a hole. And this for a regular drinking straw is good when it comes to the eyelets, because you can see that can go in there. All right. So you can use either or when it comes to this for rolling. Where did that go? And you can get your straws from the dollar store. So if I take a piece of paper and a piece of tape, and I'm just gonna put that on the very end of our paper, just barely on there, but it's on the end. Didn't need this big of a piece of tape. And if I take that, again, you want to make sure you're going on straight. And we can just start rolling our paper bead onto our straw. So you don't need, that is the wrong way for me to roll. Again, keep it taut. And you're all probably sitting there saying, Des, you just taped that to the straw. I did. So I can keep rolling this and rolling this and rolling it. Rolling it. And then again, I'm going to add my glue. About 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And then I'm just going to keep rolling, rolling, letting that glue squish out onto my finger, holding it where the end is, and then just getting the rest of the glue around that. And there you go, you have a bead. Then, yeah, you're all thinking, okay, that's the straw. Yes, the straw is there. Just grab a pair of scissors and cut the straw off. And there you have a bead. So again, you don't have to buy these. These are just absolute convenience for me. You can use a straw. And it's okay that this is showing. Trust me, with everything that we'll do, it won't be shown, because you can use end caps that I'll show you. So it doesn't matter if you don't cut right up into it. And there you go. See? Yes, you can use, Ranger came out with an embossing powder. Yes, Cordelia, with the, yeah, it was chunky embossing powder, and you just keep rolling it and then heat setting it, rolling it, heat setting it. You can also use resin as well. And there's only one thing that I use for resin, and I use it very sparingly. I only do it in the summer because then I can open my windows, get the ventilation going. I make sure I wear my mask, and all of that fun stuff. And to me, that's just a lot of work. Yep. Here we have another one. And again, you don't have to worry about what your pattern, like here's one with presents. So let's do it on this straw. So again, I'm going to get a piece of tape. Going to put that down on the edge. I'm going to roll the tape so that it grabs on. I'm going to flip this so I can roll it the correct way. And it'll just be, now this is a thicker paper, so I'm going to grab a bone folder or something heavy. And now I've just broken all of those paper fibers. So now it knows that it's going to curl. It's like that curling ribbon. Oh, I love that curling ribbon. So now it will roll onto the straw. And once you get it started, and you can flatten this out. You can just do it the other way because that's in my way. Again, guys, it's just paper. And then just keep rolling. And you'll see what this pattern will look like as you roll it. It's just when you use the straw, you know, it wants to collapse on you, which is fine. So you can cut your straw shorter if you want and put a skewer in there as well. But the only time that I would use the thicker straw, the one that I use first, is if you're interested in making the Pandora style beads. You know, the ones that are like that. So I'm going to put my glue down again. Again, I'm going to roll it, let that glue come out. So I always have a wet cloth near me. Just hold it. And then just wrap around. We have our other bead. Yep, we've taped it. So now I'm going to cut. And now I'm going to cut. There you go. You got a bead with a plastic core. See? Easy, right? So again, don't need the fancy tools. Don't need to have that expense. I just do because it's easier. Yes. I want that ease. I don't want to think. I want to be able to put it in the slot and start going. I don't want to have to fight with something that's collapsing. Now, for the drying, when we get there, I use these straws specifically that expand. And you'll see why. Okay. So how can we make, you know, our triangles? And again, it's all personal preference. Let me get these out of the way. We'll show some more things as we go. Let's move the white. Oh, let me put that cap on that or else that will fall. And then I'll have eyelets everywhere. Just thinking ahead. But you can see that's your pattern. So it's really cool. You know, it just cuts it up. I also don't worry about the edges if there's white edges on the paper. I think that adds to it. So I do like to use 12 by 12, and then as you cut your straws, you can keep these pieces if you want to make more. If you want them really chunky. These are great to use when you make those big boho beads, you know, with fabric and twine and beads and all of that stuff. We're not going to get into that today. Okay, so I do like to use 12 by 12 pattern paper because to me I think it gives it the best size bead. You can use 8.5 by 11. If you want really tiny beads, you can use 6x6, but yeah, no. Now, this is two-sided, and that's fine. I'm going to flip over to the lighter side because I can see. So I like this type of ruler because I can use these grid lines to do my measuring. And then I'm going to use my rotary cutter. Please be careful when we're doing this. This is not, you need to cut the triangles if you want to do this with your kids. But what I'll do, and I don't look for the perfect triangle. Now, usually this one here, the first one, is the waist. But what I can do is, here's the edge, and then down here, I'm like, okay, let's make my bead 3/4 of an inch. So here, I'm just going to get this started. Is this all in frame? There we go. Barely. Okay. Let's do that. Let's zoom you out just a little bit. There we go. So for the first cut, I just want to get an edge started. So I'm going to line up to the point of the paper up here, and then I'm just going to come in a 1/2 inch down here. I line it up, I put my hand down, and I cut up. Your paper may shift like this one did, and it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Then what I'll do, now that I've got this angle cut, I want it to be 3/4 of an inch wide. So I'm going to measure at the 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to slide this over to the point. And I do like to leave like an 1/8 of an inch, not a direct point. I'm going to hold that down, and I'm going to make my cut. And this blade needs to be sharpened. Let's try that again. Do that, and we'll do that. Let's see if I'm in the line. Haha. That'll never happen again. And there's your triangle. And then, knowing, and you can also add a piece of tape to this side to keep it in place. Now it won't shift. Now that I know I've got my angle going this way, now I'm going to have the wide part down here. So again, I'm going to line this up on the 1/8, go over to 3/4, hold down, make my cut. And now you have another triangle. To me, that's quick, and that's why I like to use these. Remember, your first one's always waist, but you can technically make a bead out of this. It would just be a very small bead. Because again, you manipulate the paper as you're rolling it. So even though it's not a perfect triangle, which they don't have to do, it can work because you are making sure that as you get smaller, that is sitting in the center as you roll. The skinnier you make your cut at the base, so like I chose 3/4, the chunkier your bead will look. And that's why I like to use 12-inch papers. So that's a nice size bead. It's chunky. It's not too small. And look what that paper did. It just gives the illusion of a mosaic. Oh, you got to give it a try, Cordelia. Paper beads are awesome. Awesome, awesome. of the straw trip, or the straw tip, is great. Yeah, because then you do have that ability to put things through and all of that fun stuff. And you don't have to, when you use a skewer, let me cut one more. So again, I'm going to make it 3/4. Just bring it down. Take it here. Make sure you're on a cutting mat, of course. So here, yeah, you want to train your paper. Make it curl. Go the other way. You've broken the fibers, and you really want it to curl on this end. Now, I will give up on this very quickly. So here's a skewer. And what you have to do is, as you're doing it, now watch, it's going to work this time. You've just got to keep pinching and start rolling. Yeah, of course it works now. And then just but you got to make sure that it's tight. Keep checking it once in a while so that you're in the center, because you won't have the same tightness that you do on like a straw or something else. I can't believe this is working. This usually does not work for me. And then you can just keep coming down. You can use any thickness of paper, but just know the thicker the paper, the chunkier the bead. And so when I mean chunky, I mean, that bead's really going to come out, which is really cool. One of the best things, I think, to use for, and this will spin in here. So see, I can spin this skewer. So you really want to hold on to the bead as you're spinning this and rolling it. Again, hold on to it. See, skewer just fell out. But look at that. Yes, I did it. And you want to be careful because, again, there's no glue through here, so don't be, banging it down. But you can. So if I take this on my table and I push down, the papers are going to move. And if I push it all the way down, I now have that shape. I don't know if you can see that. So it's chunkier down here, skinnier up here. And if you don't like that, you're like, oh no. You can just slide it back and forth. And now you've got your original shape back. See? All right, so you can have fun with it. Because again, we're not putting glue throughout. We're not setting them yet. So you can do all of those different things. And Gwen is now going to the dollar store for straws. Just wanted to point that out. Good morning, Caroline. How are you doing? Oh, someone's getting out a Ranger spray bottle. Oh my. Okay. All right. So that's what you can do it with a skewer. You can do it with a knitting needle. You can do it with anything that's round. You just want to look that your diameter, because the bead core will have that diameter. All right. Okay, I use the skewers for something else. So again, I use this roller because I can easily measure, line up the roller, flip it to the side, line up on those marks, hold this down, make my cut, and there's my triangle. All right. You can, and you don't need this, and you don't need this either. You can use a ruler and a pencil. Yes. So if I take, and you want to go along the top, this ruler's really long. I'm going to go with a shorter one. My goodness. Okay. So So here we go. Just saying. A long one's good because then you can make your marks. So here, I can go along the top and I can make my mark at 3/4, and then I'm going to come down here and make my mark, just a small mark at 1/8, and then I'll move my ruler to that small mark that I just made and go 3/4. So you want to do every other one when it comes to this. So you can do your 3/4 along this bottom. So here's another 3/4. 1, 2, 3. Yep, you're all going to hear me count. And then there's a 3/4, and there's a 3/4, and then up on your top, you're going to make your 3/4 that I can't see, and then another 3/4, and then another 3/4, and another one. So now you've got your 3/4 going across the top and the bottom, but they're shifted, because then you can come in with your ruler and match up your lines. So here, there's one triangle. Now I'm going to come off that point again. Here's my next one. Going to come off that line again. And then I can keep going back and forth. Now this is easier to get that true point if that's what you want. But you can see I'm just rocking back and forth with my ruler and making my lines. Then you come in with your scissors. Because again, these don't have to be perfect. And then just cut along your lines. And now I'll cut along these. And these marks are on the underside, so you don't have to worry about the pencils being shown. Again, your cuts don't have to be perfect. You're just cutting along those lines. And then I'll cut this one. Watch your fingers. Yeah, I said that to myself. Just saying. And there you go. You got all your triangles. So you can do it either way. However you would want. Whatever you would choose. But again, just basic supplies. That one's got a very point here. My sister is texting me. Let me text her back. Now, when we've been rolling our paper beads, they've been single. Well, let's double one up. So let's do 2 papers. I think that will fit in here. And all you need to do, and the base can be any color you want. So let me pull these back in. So I'm going to use this one and this one. I will choose if it's 2. Now these are very thin papers, so it's not cardstock. I will choose 2 that coordinate, and I'll just line them up. Again, they don't need to be cut perfectly, because to me, that's what adds to it, and I'm putting them in wrong. So again, for me, I am going to, from here on out, I'm going to be using the tools, not the straws. I'm using the straws for something else. So you can roll 2 pieces of paper together. And again, you're just going to do the same thing. You're just going to make sure that these are lined up and you're coming down the center, and then you're just making sure that the papers are somewhat lined on top of each other, but you don't have to focus on that. They can shift because you can see what's happening is with that second card, or whoa, keep your tension. Just remember, be calm. You can see you get that second color that pops through. Now, when you put your glue, you want to put your glue on both pieces of paper. And again, I do add more than what you would think because I do want it to ooze out. And then I just make sure those points come together. And then we roll, and we roll. And now you've got a bead that's got these two different colors going on. And it's a little chunkier. So that's what this looks like with two pieces of paper. Patterned paper, not patterned cardstock. And again, you can sit there and move them around and you get this great swirl effect. You got it on one side, but not the other. So it shifts around. If I take that same paper, and this is the same type, this is from one of those DWC something, you know what ones, the four letters, when they would have those 180 sheets. Now, if I do this and roll it on the same roller, and it's just one sheet, you'll see the difference in the size. And if you hear that, that would be Max sleeping. He's snoring away. Does it every Sunday. Yes, he does. Doesn't do it Saturday. Doesn't do it when I'm working from home. Does it on Sundays. I think that's his way of saying hello. Hello. Again, I'm going to put my glue down. And you can use Elmer's glue for this. Peel it off. And now you can see the difference in the size. I like this one because it's a little chunkier. But if you like the more thinner one, you've got that. But that's the difference of two papers, not cardstock. All right. Now, you can add, I've done where magazines are great for this. When they've got pictures, the pattern papers where they have a scene, they're great for this. Because again, you don't have to worry about what the pattern is. Good morning, Jill. How are you? You don't have to worry about that pattern because it goes away. It's the colors that just start melding through. Now you can also make again, I'm going to go back to my easy tools. In the beginning I showed the thing here. So I'm going to just cut this one straight. Because again, it's all connected to my cutting mat here with the tape. So I'm going to cut a straight line. But even though this is cut to be a straight line, it doesn't mean it can't be used. It can be used. You're just manipulating that paper to stay in the center. That's all. That is all. So don't think you can't. But a lot of people say that's waste because it's not a true triangle. You don't need a true triangle. Now I can take this and I'll cut it. Let's go with an inch. We can do a straight cut. And you can create a tube. So again, just trying to find the slit. And we just roll this up. Now for this one, you will see the pattern paper. These are also quicker to roll because you don't have to worry about being in the center. You don't have to worry about um, being perfectly set up. This one I'm going to put, oh, of course. There we go. You just at the end want to make sure that you're lined up. I'm going to hold that down for a little bit. And again, you do get glue on your fingers, but then I just roll it in there. And I grab my wet towel, get the glue off. Take this off. And then push down on your table. And now you've made a tube. So that one will show your pattern paper. And I'll show you how we can decorate this to make it look like a bead. So when it comes to your tubes, yes, those you'll see the pattern paper. So maybe you want a certain design. You can also take white cardstock. You can also, and I'll show you that in a minute, we're going to stamp our own design on it. But you could also use napkins and decoupage over this, over just plain cardstock, and put that on top so that you can have that. And these are fun, the tubes. So you can do that. Let me put that on there. So, Jill, yes, I actually do a two-step when it comes to sealing, and I say it in quotes because, again, it does not make them waterproof. It makes them somewhat water resistant. All right, so I do a two-step process. Now you'll see why I have the straws. Oh, good, I didn't ruin that. Okay. So, I go also, Gwen, when you're at the dollar store, you get the, I just get one of these. This is for flower arrangements, the foam. Because it holds my skewers that are going to hold my beads. Yes. Ouch. So, and I'm going to show you different beads after this. So I've got my skewers in there. I use the longer, these straws with the stretchy part, because that is going to hold, if I get that in there, that's going to hold the beads that I'm going to show you how to make them look like Pandora. But see how they don't go past that? And then this slides over the skewer. Yeah, it's, you know, it's the little things that are like awesome, right? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It just makes me laugh. And I keep it in the plastic. Like, even though this is annoying me that it's, you know, rolling around, I can flatten that out. See? It's all flat now. And then I just have, you know, the holes. Now, you can use anything. You can use packaging. You can use cardboard. Whatever you have. But I just find these easier. And the other one was just so, it was starting to fall apart because I had to. So once you have the holes established, you don't want to keep, you know, use the same hole. It's fine. And then the skewers will also hold, like this one here's a really, the skewer can also hold the tumbler, all right, on the point, and you can put the other side in. Just start it with a skewer. And then it'll hold that. See? That's my drying device. Yes. So I get my skewers lined up. You want to make sure that you got a good distance going on so that they don't touch. I like the height of this because I'm wanting, to just, bring it on down there. All right. So I start getting my beads set up onto, whether it's one of these straws, like that's not big enough. That hole. This one's not big enough. Okay. So everything will be by the skewer. That one's too big. So I'll have to find something for that. Because this is where it's going to get messy. So we're going to get these set up onto our skewer, just like that. I'm going to grab another one of the Pandora styles, and I'll give you the measurements. See, I just love that. Do a couple of those. Guys, it's the little things, that just is really cool. Now, I did not come up with usually it's toothpicks, but these hold them and they stay in place as with what I'm about to do. And then we'll use that one. And then we'll put that there. So now I've got my beads on there. Now we're going to do the first step. So I do a two-part, like I said. So the first part is what's going to seal the bead. And what I mean by that is not allow it to shift. Like if I push on this, the papers won't shift down to here or shift up to here. And I do want that to be glue first. I know I could go right to the glazing part, but I just really like to have the glue there because I may not get to glazing right away. So if I get the glue on there, then I know they're not going to move in the container that I have them just floating around and all of that. So the first thing I use is a Mod Podge mix. I use the matte, and it's a 2-in-1 ratio. So 2 Mod Podge to 1 water. So it is liquidy. Yes. I am going to grab scrap paper. Okay. Yeah. And a brush. And my water. You want your water close by so you can get the glue out of the brush. Ask me how I know. Because if you don't, it's not pleasant. So I'm going to grab one of my beads. I can keep it on the skewer. I'm going to go into the mixture. And I am just going to apply. And I can spin it. See? Spin it. Just a coating of the Mod Podge and water. And please excuse me, I say Mod Podge wrong sometime. I go Mod Podge. So I know I say it wrong. It's just me. And again, I don't need this too close to the end. I just want to make sure that I have this glue mixture going up and down. See, and our first one's done. I love being creative, but I like the shortcuts. I'm just saying. All right, let's do our next one. So I just get the bead of it going on, and then I just go back and forth. And this, again, just gets those papers set in place for me. Now, the other thing that you can do as well, and if you have a lot of it, if I take a little tiny cup here, and I'm just going to add some of this stuff in here. Don't flip on me. We can add glitter. Yes, we can. Now, these are little stars. These are cute. So we're just going to put a few in here. Nothing crazy because they're stars. Let's not go nuts. And when we go in here, we can pick the stars up and get them onto our bead. Now, these will fight you. Absolutely. So it's best to get a coating of the glue down first. Make sure it's not dripping, because then they'll stick. And you can just place your stars where you want them. Just have fun with it. Don't be crazy like I am right now, you know, because I'm like, okay, that one's got to go there. And that one's got to go there. So there you go. We can add stars to our bead. And I like to do it at this step here. And then we can also add glitter. So here I have a gold. It's another way to use up your glitter. Really? I never even opened this? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Never opened it. Okay, let's check the comments. Okay. Who knew? Oh, have a good one, Caroline, if you're still here. Bye. Try not to get glitter everywhere. You can use... Oh, I saw in... I say I got glitter everywhere. I saw in Biddy's live yesterday. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in, or glitter in here. Oh my god, it's going all over the place. Okay, let's get the cap back on. And then for this one, I'm going to add my mixture. And again, it just needs to be a thin coat. We don't go crazy on this one. But again, I just do this because in case I don't get to the glazing right away, which is usually the case. And then, with a separate brush, and this is great for the Dollar Tree brushes. I just have a bunch. See how it just goes right onto the brush. But this is not easy to get out of the brush. So the Dollar Tree brushes are great. You can get like a huge pack of them, because now we can just put that glitter. You can also roll it into the glitter if you want. Now, if you roll it, you're going to get more. And then I can just spin it. So I'm just getting the hint of the glitter because what we've put down is still tacky. And then I'll just go up and down. And then here I will have, we'll set that there, a microfiber cloth and just swirl to try to get as much of that out as I can. A paper towel is better because then I can throw the paper towel away. You could also use the Swiffer. I'm out of them. The Swiffer will grab them, and then you can just throw that away. I just don't like to put glitter down my drain. And then this is already clean, because again, there's not much glue on there. And then we can just let this dry. And then tap if there's any extra. Because I just don't want to get it into this one. And we'll set that, and then that's how that one looks like. Just a little bit of glitter. Little glitter. And now, let's see, we'll set that aside. So now I'm going to put my glue on these. Now these will spin. So here your fingers will get a little bit sticky. But sometimes the spinning works because as you keep doing this, and then here you want to make sure, for the Pandora style, you want to make sure that you get up onto the side as well. Just have a wet cloth by you. And we'll get that one. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. And it all depends on the roller. Like this one's not moving. So that one I must have used a different one, or it shifted. You can push it down onto the ridges, and then it won't spin. And then again, you just want to light coat on that edge. It just holds it in place. And then our last one is our tube. I really go over that seam, go up and down, and then just a little bit on the top and the bottom. And then we'll put that in there. So now they're sitting, and get your brush and the water. And just really make sure it's clean. All right, put your lid, or else I wear this. And this lasts for a long time in this container. All right. For the glaze, I use diamond glaze. This has all glitter on it. I like the diamond glaze. And the reason why I really like the diamond glaze, can you use the super glossy Mod Podge? Yes, you could. But I find that can get sticky, especially if you're in a humid area. You could also use what's called, it's by Art Deco, triple thick. That stuff is good too. That does not get sticky, but I find I have the best results with diamond glaze. And I just use it straight out of the bottle. You can put a little bit of water in here because it is thick. And I am going to do that. And I'm just going to use the water that I just used. And I'm just going to put about 2 pipettes in there. Just so that it's not sticky. And I'm just going to slowly stir this. You don't want to shake this up because you don't want to get bubbles in it. All right, I use a separate brush. All right, so let's go back to the first one we did because it's dry and it's not moving. So I go in and I just do the same thing. You want to make sure that you get up to the edge. Now this will spread. But again, you don't have to add the water, and if you do add water to it, you only want to add a little. And I just make sure that this is thin. You don't want a thick coat because this will run, and you don't want to drip. It dries quick. All right, so that's on there, and I do 2 coats. It's dry. I know when to go back in because, like, on the top of my brush, it's still, I can still see it, and as I keep spinning, I can see that I need to add more. And then I just make sure I go down to the bottom. Don't go onto the skewer. It's okay if you do. You'll be able to get it off. Let's do the one. Yep, it's dry. You want to make sure that your base coat is dry. And we're just going to do the same thing. So you can see why, if we're using shaped glitter or shaker bits, put them on during the glue, because then you can just go right over. Now this one I may add 3 coats because these are really sticking out. I know somebody asked, oh, one shifted, came off on my brush. Let's get that back on there. There we go. Can you use, you know, like a glossy accents? You could. I would not, because it is a glue. It's just a little different than either your triple thick or your diamond glaze. Some people will dip. There's a technique called dipping into your glaze for your beads, and you can certainly do that. That's like a whole setup that you need. And I only got a few pieces of glitter on my brush, so you can see that's why you do it in the glue stage. Now I'm going to clean out my brush, see if I can get that glitter out. And if not, no big deal. And now we'll do, yep, it dries very quickly when it comes to the first layer. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to push that down onto the ridges. And now it's staying in place. And you want to take your time when you put on the diamond glaze because you don't want any bubbles. So that's why I'm kind of like spinning the bead. And then you do want to make sure that you go up onto the top and the bottom, because some of that will be seen when we do those beads. And I'll give you the measurements and everything else. And I love the diamond glaze because it really does pull out the paper. because that's kind of what it's supposed to do. And then again. Top and bottom. And then I think we just have this one. Yes. So my first coat's thin. And then I will come in with a second one. And that just goes on a little thicker. And this is, it's almost dry already. So I can come in with my second coat. Now for the last coat, I let them dry overnight. And you can see that's how it's going to dry. And I got a bubble. Bubble gone. And if you think it's going to drip, just take some of it off and take your brush and just move it up alongside. And that's how glossy that's going to be. All right, and that's what I do there. So that the final, making sure my brush is clean. And again, you don't have to water down whether it's triple thick or whether it's the Aleene's, the diamond, or is that Aleene's? Make sure your cap's on tight. Oh, no, it's Judkins Diamond Glaze. You don't have to add water to it, but you can add colors to this. You can add your glitter to this. You can do that. I just like to do the glitter and all the accents before, so that that's the only thing. And then these here are drying. And I'll put the second coat on later. All right. So what do they look like when they're done? They look like this. I mean, they sound like beads. They're hard. They're sturdy. Absolutely. And that's just my way of doing that. Do you have to do the mixture that I do first, the Mod Podge and the matte? No. You can go directly to the Diamond Glaze or the Triple Thick. You can skip that other step. Again, I just do that in case I don't get to them. Here is what the Pandora style beads will look like when we do those, because we're going to do those next. Cool. And you put those in there, and then we're going to decorate those. All right, let's check out the comments, because I've been kind of... Why don't I just roll it in the glitter? Because for me, it would be too much. It would literally cover the bead in the glitter. So let's use this one. And if I take this and fold this, so if I used the Mod Podge And Ave asked this question. And I'm going to use this brush. And again, putting it on the same way that I do before. So this is going to be the sacrificial bead. If I just take this, now if you want a bead that's full of glitter, there you go. This is the way to do it. And if I just roll that in there, that's a lot of glitter. Beautiful. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. But I don't get to see the bead. I just don't see the bead anymore. Now, this is a way to make a glitter bead. I do not use glitter paper when I make my paper beads. I don't use glitter paper. I don't use mirror card. Yeah, no. I don't use mirror cardstock. I like using the pattern paper. You can see I'm being very careful when I wrap this up. Yes. I don't use any specialty papers at all. Only pattern paper with a design. Yes, you can. That's like, you can use the clear nail polish for gel nails and put it under a UV. Absolutely. You can absolutely do that. You can use UV resin, which is what that is. Basically, it's a different formulation to coat your beads. I wouldn't, and I would only choose like one that goes under a UV light. You can use clear nail polish. Just know over time they will yellow. All right. Oh, bye, Jacques. I hope you have a great day. I hope you're not walking in snow. All right. So for the Pandora beads, you want to have multiple cuts. I'm going to get this glitter out of the way. Just saying. You need to have multiple cuts of strips. Good morning, Teresa. How are you? All right, and the multiple cuts that you want, I wrote mine down. Now, I use, you can use cardstock, but don't use a thick cardstock, because then you'll have to play with your strips. So I'm just going to use, I'm going to continue to use this cardstock. So it's kind of maybe 60 pounds, 65, maybe, you know, you can see what that's like. Not an 80 or 100. You can use paper when it comes to this. Okay. So the measurements are, and I'm going to write them down here so that if you want, you can write them down as well. So you're going to need 4 strips using, I believe, this style paper. I haven't done these in a while, so I got to remember. So you're going to cut a strip 3/8. Let me try that again. Yep, I was doing a scrapbook album yesterday. Yeah, still in that mood. You're going to need a strip So strip number 1, you're going to start out at 3/8 of an inch, and you're going to end at 3/8 of an inch, top to bottom. And you're going to cut this twice. So you're going to cut 2 strips at that measurement. Easy cut. For strip number 3, you're going to start at one side needs to be 3/8 of an inch, and the bottom is going to go down to 1/4 of an inch. And you just need 1. For strip number 4, you're going to cut it 1/4 of an inch in a straight line to a point. Meaning you're just going to bring it down, or it can be to the 1/8, whatever it is. You just need it to be narrow down at that, and 12-inch long. All right, everyone got that? Oh yeah, no, Ave, that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do the Pandora. I didn't show those in the beginning. I just showed regular beads in the beginning. All right, so those are the cuts. This is version 1, and we're going to do version 1. Version 1 uses thinner paper. All right, so that's why we have 4 strips, because the paper's thinner. Now, I'm hoping I'm right. All right, but those are the cuts that you're going to make. Now, you can also, you don't have to make them 3/8 of an inch. You can make it a 1/2 an inch. You can make it whatever. So if you do that, if you make it a 1/2 an inch, then you're going to go 1/2 an inch to a 1/2 an inch. And I honestly would just cut 1 then. 1/2 an inch to a 1/2 an inch, and then your second strip would be a 1/2 an inch down to a 3/8, then 3/8 to a 1/4, then a 1/4 to your point, because then it'll be more rounded when it comes to that. This one will be rounded as well, but it's just, you know, that smaller bead style. So let's get these cut, and then I'll show you what the other cuts can be as well. All right, so I am going to cut them both ways. So I'm going to cut them using my roller. I'm not, nope, not going to use a roller. All right, so I'm going to tape this down just so that it doesn't move. So our first cut, we're cutting 2 3/8 of an inch, and that's why I love these rollers, because I can just line up these marks. So here's strip number 1. Here's strip number 2. Our third strip, we're starting at 3/8 up at the top, and then we're coming down to a 1/4 of an inch at the bottom of it. So again, I'm going to line up my 3/8 of an inch up here, and I'm going to a 1/4 of an inch down here, and I just need 1 of these. And then we're going to a 1/4 of an inch to a point, or an 1/8 of an inch, whatever you're more comfortable cutting, however you're cutting. All right, and that's our last strip. And what I like to do is when I lay these out, all of the largest sizes are up top, any of the smallers are down below. All right, but now I'm just going to shift these to the side because now I'm going to straighten this out. Just going to cut a slither of it off to get the straight edge. So with these cuts, you do want to make sure that your cuts are as close to accurate as possible. Because again, you're going to round them up. Now I'm just going to cut that again because the paper shifted. So here, I'm going to start out with a 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to go to a 1/2 inch to 3/8 of an inch. Then I'm going to go to a 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to put my wider side down here because then I'm going to keep on toggling. 3/8 to a 1/4. And I'm going to flip this and put that like that. And now we're going to do a 1/4 to a point. Or an 1/8, whatever you want to do there. I just really like the 1/8. And there we go. So that's that one. Now this is just working with regular paper. And I'll show you one doing cardstock because that's a different cut. All right, paper. All right. Let's roll these. Now you do want to make sure that you have a roller or a straw. So you can use this straw for your Pandora beads, because what you need for your Pandora beads are eyelets. And you want to make sure that the eyelet will go inside the hole that you are wrapping. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be snug because we are going to have an edge to the bead itself that this eyelet will sit on. So you just want to make sure that you have that roller. So I know if I put this one here, it's going to fit because it's not going through it. If it was going through my eyelet, it's not going to work because it's the bead's just not going to sit correctly. So I know that this one is made for this size of an eyelet. And these eyelets are, I believe, the 3/16 of an eyelet. But you can use any size eyelet. I don't have them marked. But I believe these are the 3/16 of an eyelet. All right, or the 5/16. It's either one. But that's what you want to make sure. You need to make sure that the eyelet, and with this straw, it will do it. So you just use the straw. You do not need the tool. Use the straw. All right? All right. So I'm going to use this. And I'm going to start with the original cut, the 3/8. And I'm going to get my papers lined up. Again, larger side's going to be at the top. Smaller side for these two is going to be at the bottom. So here we go. We're going to start here. And we're going to start rolling. Now this one's like a tube, so you want to make sure that you're lining up as best as you can. If not, you can pinch it to bring it back. We can get it straight once we get this off the roller. And we're going to glue this, and I should have checked my glue bottle before I started this. Oh, this will be fun. This will give you all entertainment. Let's see. Okay, today's a good day. Everything's going. Everything's going good. So we're going to roll, roll, roll. We're going to add our glue, and we're going to make sure that this is set. And honestly, I think this one, because this is in between paper and cardstock. All right, she is set. So I am going to skip this strip because she's really going to come out. And you can just tell. See how much is already sitting there? And it's already a good base for the eyelet. So that's what you want to look for. So bringing this back in, we're going to say 65-pound paper, because I think that's what this is. And this is cut 1. All right, so you're only using 3 strips. Did I confuse everyone? I'm sure I did, and I apologize for that. All right, so you just need 3 when you're working with a pattern better. And I think this is Cartabella or American Crafts pattern paper. So those types. It's not the Recollections 180 page. That is just super thin. That's where you need all 4 strips. All right, back to this. So now we're going to find our edge. We're going to put glue here, right at the seam. And we're going to match this 3/8 of an inch right up to that seam. We're just going to notch it in there, and we're going to hold it until the glue sets. It doesn't matter that the paper doesn't match. Let that go. You don't need to continue with the pattern. Now that we've got it in place, now we're going to continue to roll. Don't pull too hard. You may pull it off, but once you've wrapped around, now we're going to continue. And now is where you're going to start making sure that you're in the center of the roll. And I know I'm off just a little bit, but that's okay. Because now we're starting to get the arc in the bead. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my glue down. And I'm going to make sure that I'm lined up. And I'm going to make sure that's secured. And at the same time, I'm going to start moving my papers around just to make sure I can get that arc. All right, so you can see we're starting to get that arc on each side. Can you see that? It's starting to round out. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the seam. We're going to put a little bit of glue there. We're going to grab our last strip. And again, we're going to butt that up. Don't worry about if the pattern paper does not match. Hold it. Let that dry. Carefully get your finger off. And now we're going to continue to roll again. And again, you just want to make sure that you're in the center. to get that curve. It doesn't mean, though, that we can't adjust it. Adding my glue, and we're going to get the bead attached. And then I hold it there for a second, and I wrap it out. That is your Pandora bead. So, 3 strips. When you have a regular pattern paper, and again, this is either Cartabella or American Crafts, so that weight, it's right in the area of like a 65 pound. We're going to get this off of our roller, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lay it down and we're going to push it, because then we're going to get that flat edge. All right, now I'm going to real quick get this up onto my straw. We're going to put our mixtures on. Yes, make sure we close them tight, but make sure we can reopen them. Just saying. Oh, get out of that corner. We're going to get our Mod Podge on. And then you want to make sure that you do come up onto the side, because part of that is going to be exposed. And what my concern is that it'll shift, and you don't want the beads to shift. It's another reason why I do like to get them onto a straw as they're drying. And now we'll let that one dry. Because they'll come right off of the straw. It's plastic. All right. Let's roll the 1/2 inch wide, because again, we can make our beads any width. Now again, I'm only going to use the 3. So 1/2 inch to a 1/2 inch. Now 1/2 inch to 3/8, 3/8 to a 1/4 to a point. All right, because this one here, what we did a 1/2 to a 1/2, 1/2 to a 3/8. Let's see what that looks like, because now my curiosity is making me go, right? Right? All right. Again, we're going to get our roller. I think this one's going to be a cool, big, chunky bead. So again, we're going to roll carefully, keeping our tension. We're going to add our glue. And we're going to let that set. We're going to hold it just for a minute. And I'm going to cover my blade. Are there different sizes for straws? I mean, in diameter. You know, yes, there is. You want, okay, that's set. I'm going to set that down. This straw here, I believe I got these from the dollar store, and these are 1/4 of an inch in diameter. 1/4 of an inch. And I like this because it holds the bead so I can spin it as I'm sealing it and gluing it. All right, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put just a bead of glue there. We're going to grab our strip, Make sure we have the 1/2 inch side, and we're just going to butt it up to where that seam is, and we're going to hold it. Don't worry if the pattern paper doesn't match, because again, it just gets lost. And you can see this had just so many different patterns going through it, and it's creating a really cool looking bead with all of the differences along the side there. I'm really liking that. Sometimes you'll work with a paper and you'll be like, yeah, no, don't like that. And again, you just don't know until you work with it. Magazines, like I was saying before, are great because you just don't know what you're getting. And 9 out of 10, they make the coolest beads. They really, really do. And what's great with magazines, with it being so thin, you can wrap with multiple pieces at the same time to create these big, beautiful discs. They're, they're a challenge, and you need. It's not something that you could do on a straw or a knitting needle or a skewer. You really do need to have one of these, but you also need, I think that's what this granddaddy is for, because that cut is so wide, the slit. You can fit like 10 magazine pages in there, and just rolling that up, it creates some of the neatest beads. All right, we got that one on. Now we're going to do the strip. We're going to grab it. This is the 3/8 to the 3/8. And again, you're actually butting up to that and waiting for it to grab. And now we're going to continue to roll. And I just lost it because that happens sometimes, and that's okay. We're just going to grab it, see if the glue is still there, that it'll hold. Let's see. Yep, here we go. I'm kind of liking the size of this bead. And I think the reason why I'm kind of liking the size of this bead is because it's automatically tapering. So that's something else that you can look at too when it comes to the Pandora style. You want it to taper as soon as possible to get that look. And this is doing that. So you can create your cuts any way that you want. Just trying to get that centered. I'm a little off, but that's okay. You just need to make sure that they taper off of each other. So with 65 pounds, which I think is what this paper is, you don't, 3 is fine. 3 is perfect. It gives you that perfect look. All right. We're going into 4 on this one. It's giving you a chunkier, more of a ball shape. Which I think is pretty cool. But you want to taper right away. Now, I think with the 65 pound paper, you can taper right away. Again, it's been a minute since I've done these, and I had it down based off of cardstock, and I lost all my notes. And there we go. So now we'll get this off. We're going to play with the shape. We're going to move that taper to the center, because that's what you want to make sure. I'm going to pinch it, put it down, get that side flat, get it up onto my straw. These I do like to get the glue on there immediately. And I really like that bead. I really, really like that bead. Oh, yeah. I'm getting my glue on so that it holds. And as you're shaping, you just want to make sure that the taper is just sitting in the center as best as it can. It does not have to be perfect. Remember that. It does not have to be perfect. There's more paper that you can cut, have fun with. But you do need the base, and that's what you want to look at. You want to make sure that you have a base that is even. So like this, we tapered right away. So it's not as even, but that's okay. I mean, that's the beauty of paper and what we can do with it. All right, let me let that dry. All right, so that's how you form your Pandora style beads. And again, this is the 3/8, and that's the 1/2 inch. So it's the width that you want. You've just got to look at your papers, like I said, because you want this area here flat, because that's what's the eyelet is going to sit on. All right. Now let me get this glazed. Now, stop that. Silly. All right, let's get our diamond glaze on these. Because maybe they'll be dry. Now again, here's the mixture, but I can show you. You can go right in with direct from the bottle. I like doing the mixture, like I said before, because then I can add the 2 coats and do that. But it's not too thick. But for these, you do want to make sure, I think, even though I may go straight on, I am going to put a 2nd coat because I just like that look. I think it adds a lot. And then again, you do want to go up onto the side. And diamond glaze will dry in like 10, 15 minutes. And that's dry already. So either way, whatever you want. Or, and again, you can use super glossy Mod Podge. And then I do like to spin it just to make sure there's no bubbles. And again, just make sure you're going up on that edge. And if you go up onto the straw, it's okay, because it'll boop right off. All right, so let's let those dry for a little bit. All right. So again, let's just, now that's with 65 pound. So again, just remember, if it's very thin, you want that base strip to be the same. And 3/8 is usually the measurement. Okay, but again, it can be anything. Now again, if it's very thin, this is copy weight paper. Weight. So 20 pounds. All right. When you've got that, you need to have a 3/8 base, and then your next strip, cut it down to 3/8, and again 3/8, and then 3/8 down to a quarter, and then 1/4 down to a point, or 1/8, whichever way you want to go. I always go that way. Okay, and this is copy paper weight. And yes, they do sell them. And again, the pattern paper I'm talking about is by Recollections. So even though it says cardstock paper, there's 180 sheets, and this is it's paper. It's copy paper. Okay, which is perfect for these. I absolutely love it. So if it's that weight, this is the weight, the cuts you want. All right, those are your cuts. If you're going to a 65-pound weight like we just used, this, then you just want that. You want 3 strips. Because again, this will still give you the base, and even still, you could probably, go into 2 strips if you wanted to, where you could just use this one and this one if you want. If you don't want that bulbous of a ball. But that's what you want for 65-pound weight. All right, so that's what you're looking at. And again, you can do, now this is based off of 3/8. If you make this wider, now you've got to figure out, okay, how do I shrink down? So if this was a half, then I would go to, automatically, with the 65-pound paper, a half to 3/8, just like we did, 3/8 to a quarter to an eighth. And that's what we just did. We went half, and then we broke it down. And that's how we got this huge one, which I really like. I really, really like it. Still tacky. All right, did that make sense? Did that help, Abe? I don't remember the name, but I saw a lady making a bead with like 2 bellies. That was cool. Yes. Yes, you can make a bead with 2 bellies, and it's just on the cut. I'm going to save this piece of paper because now it's all flooding back to me. Just all flooding back. If you, to create the belly, we'll call the double belly bead, you would need to cut your paper like that. You'll have a little bit up here so that it can start, and then you'll have these 2 points coming out. And you're wrapping them at the same time. You kind of need that third hand going on. There's a video out, and I believe it's still on YouTube, by Jelly Belly. Does anybody know or ever watch Jelly Belly? She did a video just on paper beads. It was great. It was a long video. It was, I think it was maybe over an hour. It was definitely over an hour, but it was a great video. Awesomely great video. And she shows the double belly. Yes. Okay. So we're going to go back to our Pandoras once they're drying. Let me real quick put a second coat on these, and then hopefully by the time we go back, they'll be dry. And again, I really want you to use what you have. You don't need to buy the fancy tools. I am just lazy. I don't, rulers and we just don't get along. So I just find, especially the paper rollers, I just find them easier to use. All right. Now, the other reason too, because I'm now remembering, again, it's all flooding back to me. It's been a while since I've done these. But there's a project that I want to do that's calling for these. The other reason why I do add water to the diamond glaze is because I think it rolls better along the bead as I spin it. Because this stuff is very thick. And when it's thick and I'm trying to spin it over the bead, it could create a bubble, and I don't want bubbles. So with the water, it just flows just a little bit better on the brush for me. All right, now we're really going to let those dry. All right. So can you make the Pandoras with heavier? Yes. But again, you've got to play, and we'll use this one. You've just got to play with what you're looking at. You're going to use the same roller. Everything else is going to be the same. Now I'm going to take this edge off. You just need to play with it to just say, okay, this. Now, this is thicker. This paper is by this is Cartabella. This is actually from the Homemade with Love collection. It was a journal that I made for my sister. All right, now this is like an 80-pound. She's getting up there in weight. So now we're just going to play with it. So with this, I'm going to take it. I think I'm going to do that half. I'm going to do 3 strips. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch to 3/8. I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch to 3/8. Three-eighths to a quarter, and we're going to see what that looks like. And then we're going to do, and again, I'm going to take this one, I'm going to flip her around so that my large end is at the top, and then I'm going to do a quarter to an eighth. We may not even get to this last one. I'm also going to cut one 3/8 down to an eighth. Yeah, I'm really going to take her down. And again, it's because we're playing with the weight of the paper to see what will work. And the first strip is going to guide you for that. So here we go. I'm going to put my first one on, and we're going to start rolling. Now, because this is a thicker weight, we are already going to have our base. See how wide that base is already started? So, what you can do is you can pull back, and I'm going to stop right about there. And this is just with your eyes. There are no measurements for this. I'm going to use that line to cut. I'm going to add my glue. And we're going to hold that. So again, you just want to look at what that base is, and you can see just how thick this paper is. It's you know, it looks wavy, but that's okay. It's totally okay. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to put my strip of glue here, and I'm immediately going to go. I'm going to go to the next one. Now, you know what? I'm going to go to that 3/8 that I cut, and I'm going to attach that one. So this is the one where I said, you know what? I'm going to cut this 3/8 down to an eighth, and I'm going to see what this looks like. Because remember, we don't glue as we roll. And I'm going to see what type of curve this gives me for this style of bead. I'm just going to shift that to the center because I do want to see what this bead is doing. And I like it. So we're going to do that. So you can see I started out with the one cut, shortened it. Because again, this paper is thicker. You just need to make sure you have your base for the eyelet to sit on. Now I'm just going to shape that just a little bit. Pull this off. going to form it back and forth until I get that wave of pattern paper. I'm going to set it down on my table, push so that it's flattened out on each side, and there you go. So again, change your cuts up to make it work. This is why, and I just messed all that up. This is why I get my glue on as fast as I can. Because again, we're not gluing as we go. We are just gluing on the ends because then we can shape it. So I'm going to real quick get my Mod Podge on here because then it'll set this bead and I can come back to it at a later time and add the glaze. There we go. Because I like that shape. So again, your thicker papers doesn't take as much when it comes to that. Again, you are just making sure you've got this base that the eyelet can sit on. Okay. So, does that make sense? Does that help, Ave? There we go. To make your own paper, though, I'm sure we've all got all kinds of cardstock. Now again, I am still sticking with the 12 by 12 because I just find that to be easier. To me, it's just enough for one bead to roll through. But that's just me. So we'll show that bead and then we're going to start embellishing our other beads. I'm just cleaning up some space here, making some space. All right. So here I have a piece of white cardstock. Now you can do this two ways. We can take this and we can make a tube style bead. Now, and this stuff seems to be pretty thick. I didn't even check. Yeah, this is like an 80 pound, maybe even 100. So she's going to create a chunky monkey. For this one, I am going to go an inch down to 1/4 of an inch. And again, you can play with how your triangle works. And yeah, I'm going to work right off that straight edge, bringing 1/4 inch down here, using my ruler for the inch up here, making my cut. And now we can literally just have fun. Grab your inks, grab your stamps. Of course, I grabbed, and you want to use your archival, if you have archival inks, you want a non-waterproof water reactive ink here because, again, your glue has water in it. It'll smear everything that you're doing. So if you use distress inks, which is fine for what I'm about to do, because I am going to use Vintage Photo. You all knew Vintage Photo was going to come into the video. I'm just saying. All right, so I'm okay that it's going to mix into this. But for the stamping that I'm going to do, you do want to make sure that you have your archival inks because they will not move. Or again, an ink that will not move and react with water. That's what you need to have when it comes to this. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to distress these. And I am going to use the distress ink because I'm going to use that to go over the top of this. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And for this one, I only have to worry about this edge. What I'm going to do here is go over the edges. Because remember, this isn't tapered, so you're not going to see those edges or anything here. So you don't have to go crazy doing that. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go down the side. On those. That's the only time I'm going to use distress inks. Now I am going to come in with my archival, and I am going to go on the edges of these as well, just with the black. Again, just to give that different look, get it grungy. And this, I'm going to do that all the way down. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. All right. So now we have that. Now we can just have fun stamping. And I am going to pull out if I can find it. I found it. My red. Gotta have my red. Just for some fun. So for this one, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to stamp it on an angle, just like that. And for this, I'm going to be strategic with this one as well. I'm going to stamp that one down on the edge. Just randomly throughout. Because again, I don't know what exactly I'm going to see, which is what I think is really cool. You don't know how that's going to come out as you're stamping. And then I have some stamps. Those we're going to do in black. And then, do I have? Yes, I do. Put that there. Put that there. And that, just like that. And again, you don't have to go too crazy either, because again, here you can, because part of that's going to be seen. Here, this is tapered. It's not going to be seen. So let's do this one first. And I'm going to use this roller. Remember, start at the side that you didn't ink up. And really work this paper. It is thicker. Wow, is that thicker? So huge. So I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to cut this down. So the thicker the paper, the less you need. So if you've got really thick 6x6 paper, this is where you can use it. I mean, even still with that huge amount. And now you can see what's going to get hidden, what maybe won't. I'm going to bend that. I'm going to bring it back just a little bit, and we're going to add our glue. So you can see just how much I cut off. I mean, this was a good, let's see, 2, 3. This is about 4.5 inches off of 12. So this is about 7.5. So a heavyweight cardstock, 6 inches, perfect. So again, play with your papers, look at what you got, and there you go. You just designed your own paper bead, and simply with stamps. That's all you have to do. And we can see a lot of the special delivery. We've got the postmark there. Lots of fun. Now this one is just going to be different, period. I'm not going to cut any of this one off. Remember, I cut my triangle from a straight edge, and we can still get the look of the tapered. You just want to make sure that as you're rolling it, you're staying in the center. And this is actually helping you because of the way that I inked the edges. I'm going to add my glue. And I'm going to hold it. Hi, Lisa. How are you doing? Oh, no worry about missing the notification. Mostly Sundays I go live 9 a.m. Eastern or 10 of, 8:50 a.m. I go live. And there you go. So that one's really cool because you can see the number coming across, and we've got all of the difference in that bead. And you can see just how wide this bead is with just one strip. of, and this is about 80-pound cardstock. So I like that. Very much so. Okay? So that's how you can make your own. And again, you just want to make sure that the inks that you're using are not water reactive. You can do it with watercolor paper. Like, did you ever buy, I know I have, that, oh, this is a great price on water paper. And when you get it, you're like, what is this? It's very thin. Do you, it's very this. That is perfect. You could put watercolor on that, cut your strips out, and that's perfect because it's not a heavyweight watercolor paper. It's a lighter weight paper, but it's still watercolor, and you can do that. You can use copier paper and Sharpies, and all you have to do is when you have a strip. So let's say this is copy paper. You just want to make sure that when you put your Sharpie, you just need to put it on the edge, not even in the center. Just on the edge so that you'll get those colors to meld through and just have fun with that. All right, let's decorate. You want to start decorating some beads? Are there any, let's see, Lisa, do you glue the first? No. So, Lisa, when I use paper rollers, I have like I have all kinds of different sizes here. No, I use paper rollers because I find it's the best. It's easiest for me. You can use a straw, a cocktail straw, because you can tape your paper down to this and then just snip it. So if I take this, take a piece of tape, and yes, I know you're saying, but Des, you've just glued it to the straw. Well, if you roll it up like this, you can get these cocktail straws for dirt cheap. And if I keep rolling this, you guys know I had to answer her question, right? I'm just saying. Now, it does take getting used to because the straw wants to collapse. It wants to bend with you, which is fine. And sometimes the straw method is a really good method because of how you embellish or how you want to embellish. It gives you a really good, strong core. So if I do that, we've got our bead, but how do we get it off? We just take a pair of scissors. Boop. Boop. There you go. There's your bead. So, yeah. That's what would be attached to that. But since, again, I just like the paper rollers, but again, you don't need them. So here I can take two pieces into this because of the slit that's sitting in there, and I can just go to town. And because I've rolled that up in there, and by using two pieces, it's giving me a wider bead. I just put glue here, and then since this is double, I'll put it down here. So it's just on the edge that I'm putting glue. So it's like quilling on steroids, or quilling made simple. Because quilling's steroids for paper rolling. I love quilling. It's beautiful. Beautiful art form. And then just to straighten this out, I just take it the opposite way. And then take it the opposite way again. There, see? Straightened out. Alright, so this is what I use. But you can use a skewer, you can use a straw. I do like the straw method if I didn't have my paper beads, because then I can have it be adhered to something so that it's not all going around. Doing it with a skewer, and I actually did it here. I was pretty impressed with myself. It worked. Um, I always lose, and then it just comes unraveled, and then it goes all over the place. It's just a mess. And then I get frustrated, and it's one of those. All right. So here are my beads that we're going to embellish. Now, you can embellish any way that you want. I like to, if you want to make these boho, you can add fabric and strings. That's for another time. We're just going to keep it simple with these, and not necessarily simple, but we can add, what I like to do is to add end caps. And what end caps are these little tiny things that go onto the edge of beads. They come in all shapes and sizes. These are more round. And then they also come in different lengths. So these I think are fun. These I don't think will come apart. Oh, they will. All right, so you can get them longer. So all kinds of different shapes and size. I mean, they even come, this long if you want to go that direction. And then you just need, now if you're just using these, then you just need an eye pin. And an eye pin is one of these. And that's if you just want to add an end cap. So like this one here, I'm going to add an end cap. And it doesn't matter to me that this is silver and this is antique bronze. And I should really have my other glasses on. So we have our end cap on there, and then I'm going to use this one. So if I put this down, that end cap just goes really nicely around the bead, which is really cool. And then I need another one. There we go. Boom. And there we go. We have a bead. Now, what we need to do is to create a loop. Now, there's many ways to do this, and I highly recommend you watch somebody that does jewelry. I'm just saying, because I may do this very differently. So what I do is I take round nose pliers, I go right down to the bead, and then I take this and I bend this to one side. Just like that. You see that? Dun, dun, dun. Then I come in with the pliers. I go back, come out, and then I go back underneath that bend, and now I take this and bend it back over the pliers. Dun, dun, dun. So see how it's like intertwining? Can you see how that's intertwining in there? All right. Then, while I have this in the firm vice grip that I do, I carefully switch it over. And I get my snips ready that weren't ready because I keep rubber bands around them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this off, and it's going to go flying. It's It's going to go flying right in the bag. Yep, that's what I did there. All right, and I'm pinching this, and then I'm going to grab, oh, I can snip that off a little more. Have glasses on when we do this. All right, so when I snip it, see that little hook there? Okay, because then I can come in with my round pliers and bend this back up onto itself. And then I squeeze it together and make sure that's down there. So now I have a little loop, little loop. Yep. There is a more professional way to do this. I'm just saying. Okay? More professional way. But that's how I do that. Again, it's just by eye, and then I just make sure it's down there, and I make sure it's straight. I make sure there's no sharp bits that could harm somebody. And then that's a charm for a journal, as I'm not in camera. Okay, so that's one way to do that. And again, it looks nice and glossy. It looks fun. Okay. The other way is we can use these long ones. So by putting that there, and then putting this one here, now you just need an extremely long eye pin, and I don't think that this is long enough. No. So you would want to get a piece, we need a piece of wire for this, which we can do. Hang on. So I just get craft wire. And you can get anything that you like. So this is by that name, and I get 20 gauge. All right, so now I'm going to cut a piece of wire. So we're going to make our own eye pin. So I like to have about 6 or 8 inches. Okay, and then again, my round nose pliers. I love these things. I'm just going to snip this part off because I don't have my straighteners. All right. So for down here, I'm going to just go onto the edge of that so that it's not coming out the other side. And I'm going to curl this around. I'm going to come out. I'm going to go back in. And just push it down a little bit more. And I'm just going to keep rolling on itself. So I'm creating this coil. Can everyone see that? Just a little coil. And you want to make sure that you get your piece in there. So see, I have a little coil. See that? Okay. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend it up. So that it just comes straight up. So see, now I've created my own eye pin. I don't know why I keep going off to that side. My own eye pin. So that now I can take this. Now hopefully this is big enough. Ooh. Yes, it's big enough. Now if this was not big enough, we have a fix for that. We do. And what it is is a bead. So, yeah, couple things. So I'm just going to grab, I found lots of beads. I don't know where I got them. I think at one point I was a member of a bead club. And I just kept on putting them in a box. Found the box. So every year, at the end of the year, so I'm going to thread my makeshift eye pin through the bead, let that fall to the bottom, and now I'm going to bring this up through this bead here. There we go. So now when this comes down, now it's just going to rest onto that bead. See? And again, it's not sitting perfectly. I'm good with it. I am so good with this. But now that I have a bead down here, I need to have a bead up here. Yeah, it's all about the symmetry. So I'm going to carefully thread this. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing. Now, I like to just like to hold all this stuff together, so I'm going to like pinch it down there because I want to make sure everything's as tight as possible, or as tight as what I can get it. I'm going to come in, I'm going to bend, I'm going to hold all this together, I'm going to come back in again, I'm going to flip it back around, I'm going to pinch it down, I'm going to carefully hold my vice grip going on here, and I'm going to snip this right there as close as I can. I always keep my fingers crossed as best as I can that it doesn't go flying across the room. I'm going to pull these out, and then I go back in and I turn it. And if I went too far, I pull it back out. And then I squeeze it. I am not a jewelry maker. I can do jump rings. I can do all kinds of sort of things. But this stuff, but then again, I have fun with it. And this is nice and tight. And it's sitting on the bead the way that it should. And there we go. Now we have another charm. With our paper beads. So bead caps, I think, are great. I really do. But can we do the same thing with regular beads? Yes. So if you have a stash of beads like I do, then we can just have fun. Like here's a whole little bag here of my gray beads. So we can take an eye pin. So let's take this one. No, let's take this one. So you can see the size of the hole, and that's okay. We're good with that. So on my eye pin, I'm just going to thread my one bead, just like that. And it's an eye pin because it has that piece. So make sure the pins have a nice base to them. Or make your own. And I'm going to put the bead on there, the paper bead. Hold it like a syringe. And then I'm going to be on camera as best as I can remember. And I'm going to put another bead. Now, you can put more beads and have this whole thing decorated, but I like little tiny charms. But here I go again. I'm just, the way that I have that pinched down, I'm coming in with my round nose. I go 90 degrees over the tool. I come back out. I go back in so that I can bend it the other way. I bring it down. I try to get my tool out of there. I come in with my clippers. Guys, if nothing else, this is entertaining. And I will clip right where it's kind of like there. You see where I'm clipping? All right, that's where I'm clipping. Clip away from your face. Have glasses on. And then I go back into the loop, and then I turn this. I want to turn it so that it coils around. And what I'm doing at the same time is I'm trying to keep it as tight as I can so that the beads aren't too loose on here, but I'm okay if they are. It makes them jingly. See? Jingle. And there you go. All you need is a little tiny, you can put this on a safety pin, you can put this on a paper clip for your journals. We can put another jump ring on it, make it a dangle from your lace on your journal. And there you go. Paper bead meets glass beads. All right, so that's how I would do that. Now, let's check our Pandora beads. So, caps. These are just called bead caps. So, I like to get these. Can you see that? Because these fit nicely over the paper bead without being too far stuck out. And they're nice and tiny. And then these are for more rounded beads. I don't make too many of those anymore. So I use these a lot. I also use these a lot. They're not too big. They're not too chunky. They allow the paper bead to shine through. Because that's the whole point of this, is to say, yes, that's a paper bead. That goes on there. Absolutely. And I just think it's cool that it makes it really long. Those super long ones I don't use too much anymore because they are. They're just really super long. But they're great for like a medieval or a Halloween journal. Well, let me put that in there. All right, so now let me get these moved. The other type of cap that you can use are these, more firm, more metal, solid metal. You can use these as well. These work really nice. These are my favorite, actually. Those and the first ones that I showed. These are a lot of fun. I get all my findings. I get that from Amazon. I'm I'm not searching anymore. But when I come across a cool finding, and of course it's in massive bulk, I'll pick it up to do stuff like this. This is what I do with my extent with my paper beads. I mean, I do make jewelry as well. That's only for special occasions. But anyway, I was saying, so every year, at the end of the year, I clean. I purge. Well, not purge. I clean. And I try to get organized again. So I'm pulling out our Pandora beads that we did. And I want to see if they're dry. Yes! So, because it's on a straw, you just twist it and pull it off. And then this goes back into shape. I love these straws. 1/4 inch diameter. All right, so that's one. And then here's our mahumba. Again, just twist. Sometimes the straw will break, but it breaks free. So like this one here. Yeah, this one I got a little excessive with the glue. Sometimes I'll sit here and I'll try to fix it like I'm doing, but it'll bend out of shape because you got to twist it. So this one, what I do, I don't throw it away before anyone hollers at me. I do save the straw, but I got to cut that part off. And then that goes in another pile. But straws, get them at the dollar store. All right? Great things. Absolutely great things. Okay. So here are our two Pandora style beads. So, you need 2 eyelets. And I'll confirm this. I believe these eyelets are 3 and 3/16. I believe. I believe. Guys, I can't tell you the last time I did this. Yes, they are 3/16. I think that the normal, everyday eyelets that you can get. I'm going to cut myself if I don't cover that. All right. Now, what you can also get too, and these are things that I actually started this year on creating. So they actually have these really pretty bracelet forms. Now these I did not get off of Amazon. I forget where I got these because I wanted to make sure that these were the 9, or now are these the not the 9? I forget. But I fell in love with these because they had the little heart. Okay, so we'll need that. And all you're going to do, you don't need any special glue. You don't need the E6000. Bless on the E6000. But it is a metal that you are adhering to paper. So while I say you don't need it, I do suggest it. What is a good alternative? Glossy accents. Yes. Yes. Did she just say who's going to make me some? Did you just say that, Cordelia? Make you some what? Oh, thank you, Teresa. That's too kind. Okay. So, you want to grab your bead. I love that bead. And the reason why I choose glossy accents as the alternative is because it dries shiny. We don't care. It'll just blend right in to the 2 coats of diamond stuff that we added. Now I need to clean off my edge. Hang on. I got a little carried away. Imagine that. Okay. You're going to take your glossy accents and you're going to not glob it like I just did. But you want to make sure that it's on the side. So, am I in frame? Okay. So you just want to make sure that you're putting it on the lip around the opening. You're going to take a pair of tweezers, or you're going to take, like I'm going to use this tool. You're going to go keep them closed. You're going to go down the center of the eyelet, let it open. Do not close them again. You're going to go down the center when they're closed, release the pressure. As they open, you're going to set it down into the hole and let it drop. That's all you're going to do. And you're just going to let that dry. I'm going to flip this over, fingers crossed that it doesn't fall. That, I'm working that as a reverse tweezer, which I should not. So now I'm going to grab my reverse tweezers. Okay. Here we go. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it 3 more times. Woohoo! Here we go. Again. Just around the lip. And you want, a good amount. You don't want to be too sparing with this. Go around in a circle, reverse tweezers. Once inside, press, pick it up, go inside the hole, release. And then just tap it down. And there you go. A bead for a bracelet style. Yes. And yeah, I really like that. So you can see, I mean, we've got a thicker edge than what we want, but that's okay. Because again, as you get more beads on here, you're not going to see that. But again, it's paper. It's a handmade bead. If anybody that you would give this to would want to say something about that, okay. Yeah. Just saying. And then I'm going to place that on my, as a matter of fact, I have, my husband bought me little silicone pads. Aren't they adorable? I'm going to set that down. All right, here we go. Let's do the next one. All right, so we're going to go around the edge with a good, a good line. And don't be worried about its oozing. Again, we want this shiny. We're just going to put that into our bead. The reverse tweezers is best. And then we're just going to push that down. The other thing that I like about glossy accents is it dries. Boom. Just saying. Where your E6000, and yes, if you have that, use that. But it takes 24 hours to dry. So go in, open, pressure, drop, and you won't get glue all over your hands, and you won't get glue all over your eyelet. That's fine. I'm not sure if I saw this. I'm sure I saw this somewhere, but this was ingenious. And then we're going to put that down there. Just like that. And let them dry. And they're already dry. I love glossy accents. Just a little bit. Just let it go. Okay, we burp. Cap. Burp. Put our cap on. Never have an issue. Never have an issue. I need something to drink. All right. And you can see, like I have a bunch of them here. These are all the different ones that I made. But you gotta play with your paper. You gotta play with how you want it to look like. You know, it's a lot of fun. And again, just play with your paper. So here we have that one. This was done with very thin paper. And the only reason why I know that is because how the side looks. Okay? When you use really thin paper, like copyweight paper or like that paper pad I showed you, you really, you can't see the papers. You just got to make sure that you are cutting them the same size as you, for that first small round. That it's a true, 3/8 or a half an inch. I wouldn't go bigger than a half an inch. Yeah, I wouldn't go bigger than that because that is kind of big. I do like the regular size, but you can see when you play with your papers that eyelet just fits perfectly around that. And it just looks like it's part of the bead. Now this was super thick paper, very thick. Love that bead. And then again, your eyelet will come in and cover up the side at some point. This is just solid cardstock. solid cardstock. The first strip was black, the next one was pink. That's all we did on that one. Whoops. All right. So here, when it comes to these, you should be able oh, that's funny. I thought these should, yes. Okay, so I don't lose anything. I'm going to, for a moment there, I thought you all were going to hear me scream. I'm like, no. So these unscrew. And you want to make sure, I'm going to take that off. You want to make sure that you're unscrewing it straight. Hold it straight up and down so that it'll spin. And then you can just put your beads on. I mean, how fun is that? You can have your own Pandora style beaded bracelet. Now remember, this is not this is not waterproof. This is somewhat water resistant. And then you can just screw this back on. And guys, this is a great way to use up those 12 by 12 pattern papers. Like, you know those pattern papers that we never know what to do with, and what we do with them right now is we make master boards out of them. So it's best to let it hang and spin it to get it tied back in there or screwed back in there. And there you go. You have a paper bead bracelet that I think is pretty cool. And these do sell well. And I did, Lisa, I did show you how to, I show this bead, the 1/2 inch, and I show this bead. Which I love the 1/2 inch, I really do, but I'm leaning towards the 3/8 of an inch. I do like the 3/8 of an inch width for these beads. When you get wider, it's for me, it's for something else. Like this would be great on a necklace. For the bracelet, it's kind of big, but great for a journal. So see? But I showed these two how to do the cuts, how to figure out the cuts, how to make the choice on the cuts, because what you're concerned about is this part right here. And even though, you know, we've got a lot of that there, it's okay. Because again, when you have these on a bracelet, you really can't see the sides. And if anyone's looking at the sides, you know, just tap them on the back of their head. Yeah. I'm going to let that there. And I put these well back in here. All right. So that was today. And the reason why this was today is because, again, I was purging. Or, again, not purging. Cleaning. Every year, at the end of the year, I do clean. I go through certain areas to say, okay, I've got to go through this area. This is getting out of hand here. And especially after the showcase that I do, because the rooms just go into disarray as I'm getting ready for that show. So I've got to get everything back normal. So there was one area that I cleaned, and again, I found this box. I'm like, you know what, let's do paper beads. Oh, I remember making these. I don't know if I remember everything. But I did. It was all coming back to me, to the point where I have notes. And these notes have even changed. So, and you can see at one point, I made a lot of these. I used to make these constantly back in the day. and then put them on little cards to sell them individually, because I had people that would actually, they had purchased the bracelet, and I'm actually going to start doing it again. They purchased the bracelet, but then they wanted to add, so then I would sell individual beads as well. So they could either, make up their own design on the beads, buy as many as they would want, or buy one that already had the beads on it. So yeah, people do come back for that. Anyway, so I found that, and then I did a lot of talking to myself, because you kind of hear this. Why did I buy this? How come I bought this? So there was a lot of talking amongst myself that I did, which I was by myself because my husband was away last week. He was in Los Angeles. So that was something good. Not that he was away, but I was able, when I talked to myself, nobody thought I was crazy. And then I was sitting there. I also went through my pattern paper. Yeah. So, do we remember last week's? And I will be live. Today's what, the 18th? I will be live next Sunday. Figured I'd throw that out. So on our live last week, I had said, we were talking about being on a no-buy, and only things that I would be buying, would be the necessities. My neutral card stocks, stuff that I have to, to keep going. But it would be a little bit before I would have to do that. Did anybody see what, and remember what I said, my weaknesses are Christmas and Tim Holtz. Anybody remember that? Anybody? Anybody remember that? I mean, you want to be my child and inherit my craft supplies. Yeah. Well, and remember, so just so before somebody says, okay, you have too much and all this stuff, I run a business. So this is like my escape, actually. I have the community that we have with the free tier and the 2 paid tiers, and then I also do the craft showcase, and then I'm always doing some commissioning work. So this is kind of like my breathe. Get back to, the basics when it comes to things. So that's why I have what I have. The good thing is, though, I won't have to buy anything for a while, which is awesome, because I found all kinds of stuff, because it was the scenario of I stuffed it away, and then I piled on top of it, and then when I needed it, I had to reorder it. Yep, lots of that going on. But if you remember, like I was saying, so Christmas and Tim Holtz, they are my weakness. Did anybody see what Tim Holtz came out? What he has come out with? Yes, Lisa. Yeah. Tim Holtz. I love that man. I really do. He came out with a pattern paper collection. Yes. Yes, he did. Yes, Cordelia, I will do that. I will list some of the supplies, and links to where you can go get them. I'll see if I can find them. Yes, I will do that. So the live will, so just give it like 10, 15, or give it a little bit until the afternoon. But yeah, I'll have the lives in there for the paper rollers, for the eyelets. I'm not going to list the straws, Cordelia. Go to dollar store, hon. I'm just saying. or the paper. But yes, he came out with gorgeous papers that mimic his fabrics. I love that man. So, but that was the only thing I bought. Yep. Only, only thing. Only thing I bought. So I didn't add anything else to my cart while I was there because that's sometimes how I shop too. Oh, while I'm here. Yeah, nope, didn't do that. So I was really good. So I call that a win. Yeah. Now, I will be, last week I had also said that I would be posting those 3D flowers that I showed. We had a little bit of a mishap with the video. Mainly, I couldn't find it. Mm-hmm. Please know, I found the video. I can't win. It was a very productive week. And I hope you all had a productive week as well. But I did. The stamp collection is designed. Um, and that will launch in April. And no, I'm not going to show the designs right now. Lisa. your comments hidden because of what you said. And it was okay, it will. It will. So I was able to show her that. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. Exactly. Um but so that video will be coming out. So it'll be coming out this week. The embossing folders will be coming out this week in our first tier. That's our first free tier in the community. And it is all about, as I stretch across my table, it is all about embossing folders. And again, I don't go into too many techniques, but I do go into a few of what you can do with your embossing folders, different ways that you can use them so that we can stretch out our supplies, because that's what we should do. Use what we have, find other ways to create with it, have fun with what we have. And embossing folders for me are like brads, very much like brads. Um, I am so happy that they're making a comeback. Because there's just a lot you can do with them. There's just a lot that you can do with embossing folders and brads and all of that fun stuff. And I think they're a nice economical way to create and get beautiful results. Just absolutely beautiful results when it comes to being creative and doing that. And I had showed the embossing folders a couple lives ago. We are still continuing in our second tier. That's all tangling. That's all we do there. We're running there our 31 days of fragments. And then, hang on, give me 1 second. So that will continue throughout January until the 31st. And then I have a summary, and I'm pulling in all of our beads now. And again, these are beads. Here's our bead with our stars. And I definitely want to put like 3 or 4 coats on that one. So that'll continue through. And then in our third tier, I tried for the first time a one-sheet wonder. Yes. And it's a hysterical video. Yes. Yep. Uh-huh. I was really punchy. But we made that. That. I'm loving that. It is too cute. That is a one sheet wonder. So not my idea. So we did that. So those will be coming out this week as well throughout the tiers. But I do hope you'll join me, at least in the free tier there. We have a lot of fun there every month with a new project. I know times are tough, and I respect that. So that's why I make things available on different tiers, different levels, but nobody's going to miss out because even the first tier gets tangling as well once a month. So there's a little bit of everything in that tier when it comes to all of this. There was something else. Oh, yeah. So I only lift scissors and glue bottles. Well, that's good exercise. Oh, Cordelia. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. We're having all fun. You two are just having way too fun over there in the chat. Okay, we're talking about organs. All right. Um. So yes, the stamps are designed. We will have a collection that is coming out April, the end of March, beginning of April. Um, I won't start. I'll start showing different things on that as we get closer. I won't show them now. I couldn't believe how I was going with it. Did I get your Christmas card? Um, I don't think so, Ave. No. I only really got two Christmas cards. One was from my husband's side of the family, and one from my sister, which was absolutely hysterical that I cannot show on film. Yeah, we're very sarcastic people. Yes. But I don't think I did, Ave. Now that makes me upset. So let's look over what we did. Those are the updates that I have and how I slightly fell off with the no buy, but I can't resist to have those papers because I already have an idea of what is going to be made with those papers and the fabric. So, all right. So here are the beads that we made or worked on. So I'm going to push those aside. We didn't do those. So we talked about Pandora style. And throughout the video, you can go back and you can see the measurements. 3/8. I like the 3/8 side. And you can just have fun with it. And again, for the side, look, you can't even tell that's glossy accents in there. It's just looking like the glaze, which is awesome. And they are not going to go anywhere. Okay? So we did those, and I think they're a lot of fun. Here we took beads that I had already done, and we just added end caps and made our own, okay, attempted to make our own head pin. I'm just saying, because I should have pulled it up through the center, but that's okay. But just add some beads if you've got spare beads around, or maybe you have a piece of jewelry that you can, repurpose. Jewelry, repurpose. You can make the bead look completely different. All right, and put these two end caps on, which I think just looks really cool and would be really pretty in a tassel or hanging off your journal, because that's what I really use these for. And then here, if you have a shorter one, just add two beads to each side, because then it'll cover up the hole. If that's, what you're worried about or anything else. I mean, you can also just put these right onto a paper clip as well. And then again, just add your head pin with two beads on each side. And then this one, just a cute little adorable thing here. This is a piece of 12-inch paper cut 3/8 inch wide down to a point, and when you roll it, that's the shape you will get. You will get a nice little ball. And then these end caps work really well with that. And again, use the head pin to close that off. Now we have a charm. We created our own paper. out of thick cardstock, rolled our own beads. So nice grungy beads. I love the way that these edges show with the bead. And then if you want to just make a tube, perfect. And again, you can do the same thing with the tube by adding a bead to the top and the bottom and just having that be part of your journal as well. So you can make your own paper if by chance you don't get pattern paper. I know, I'm just saying. But there are people out there that only buy solid cardstock. Absolutely. Because there's beautiful things that we can do it. And those are the die cutters. You know, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for solid cardstock that they can die cut with. Or create layers on their cards. Here's another tube where we did care what the pattern paper was because we can see it. Again, when you create those tubes, and this is what it looks like and sounds like when you've got, and this is only really one coat. I'm going to go back and put in another coat of the diamond glaze. So it's a beautiful glaze that's just absolutely awesome. Here's our bead where we just added a little bit of glitter. They asked an awesome question. Why can't you just, after you put your mind, roll it through the glitter? I show why I don't do that. So that's why it looks this way. Now, unless you want a solid glitter bead, then yes, you want to do that. You want to take your bead, paint on the Mod Podge mixture, and then dunk it and twirl it into very fine glitter. And then you can just wipe it away and you will have a glitter bead, because I don't use glitter cardstock or any specialty cardstock for paper, for making my paper beads. I'll accent them, but I don't use specialty paper. I find it cumbersome and frustrating and annoying, and then I throw them across the room. And that's just not a good thing to do. We are to enjoy the process, not want to throw things across the room. Here's our other bead with the stars. So again, I am going to put another coat, probably 2 to 3 more coats on this one so that those stars are truly embedded onto that bead, which I think looks pretty cool. And then these are just the other beads that we did. Another Pandora style here. Just made sure I got my matte glue on there so that it holds its shape. We're using a thicker cardstock, and you can always tell when it's a thicker cardstock because you can really see the ridges and also the ridges in the side. When you don't see too many of the ridges, that means it's a very thin paper, like a copy paper weight style bead. This one here, I used 2 pieces of cardstock together, and you get that awesome looking swirl. Because I love the fact that you don't have to worry about what your pattern is when it comes to paper beads. You just don't have to worry about it, because it creates another completely different style when you wrap them. And then here's the other Pandoras that I already had in my stash when I was showing how I glue everything together. So that's the base of solid cardstock with pattern paper on top. So play to find what your magic layering is for those, because you can. It doesn't have to be what I use. You saw that I was changing it as I was going, as it was coming back to me. All right? So that's that. What are we not doing it? Oh, maybe it's still on its way, Ave. You never know. It's coming from, the other side, from the West Coast. Look, I ordered stuff and it ended up in another country before it got to me. It happens. It's all good. They are, Lisa. Yes, those papers are awesome. Yes. Yes. It was awesome. It's just, it's amazing. It is amazing. Don't get I did, Cordelia. I did. I bought more. And what's funny is after I went through my pattern paper, that area that I cleaned out, and again, I just shifted some things. There was a lot of things that I had that were on copy paper, and I don't know what they were. And it was a huge stack. So I'm taking that into work so I can use it as scratch paper. I have no idea what it is. Absolutely none. Yeah. So there's a space open for them now. So we're good with that. Oh, thank you, Anthony. I hope you were doing well. Okay. I don't know if I could trust a paper who doesn't buy pattern paper. Well, hey, I didn't say that they weren't buying pattern paper. Well, I did say that, but they were still buying solid cardstock. That's paper. You get mm-mm. Easy there. Easy there, you. So anyway, that's what we did today. I had a lot of fun. What I was going to choose, it was going to be a lot of cutting of paper. I was doing a scrapbook album. Yeah, that wouldn't have been fun. That would have gotten on my nerves after so often. But anything's possible. But yes, after this, I got to quick make a call, and then when I come back, I'll list some of the things down, and I'll just have links to, because again, I get most of the supplies here from Amazon. You can even get the paper bead rollers from there as well. Um, and if you're just looking, and again, I would just get two. You want the orange one for these, for your Pandoras, and then a skinnier one if you want. Or, again, guys, you don't need the paper bead rollers, a straw. Use the straw. You got tape, it stays, and it just gets flimsy because the straw's thin plastic. Okay? And then you can cut it. And then you got a good core. All right, guys, you have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm going to go see how much more snow is falling so that I can go shovel again. Did that yesterday, and now I have to do it again. And I think I'm going to just convince my husband to go pick up something that I am scheduled to pick up at 4:45, and I don't want to. So that's the fun of my day. So I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, something different. Probably next week, I think I'm going to do a simplicity. Just have fun with some pattern paper, make a bunch of cards, and do whatever it is that we do with it. Let's just have some fun. Let's chit chat, talk about some fun things, some upcoming things, and all of that. All right. So, guys, have a great week. I will talk to you and see your chat next Sunday. Thank you so much for being here, for being in my community, and making me a part of your creative journey. I am truly, truly honored and grateful. All right, so I'll see you next week. Take care.